Because even these 22 homes, if I do nothing else ever, will completely change the way I look when I'm 50. Completely. I bought 22 homes in Las Vegas. I'll say the average home I was buying in Vegas at that time cost $39,000.
So, Adiel, you've helped thousands of people invest in single-family homes over the last 30 years, so you know what you're talking about when it comes to real estate. How did you get started, and how did you get ICG off the ground?
Yep, 40 years.
40 years?
Yeah, 40. And
Well,
I
10
know I
years
started,
anniversary then.
yeah, I started when I was 1. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, you don't look old enough for that.
I actually am a Silicon Valley guy, old, high-tech electrical engineering and computer science. I did my graduate studies in Silicon Valley at the university. I was living in Palo Alto. I taught a couple of courses to graduate students, and I was doing research at the university. Then I got my first job in Silicon Valley. Well, today, when you have a young engineer leaving college, maybe they want to work at Google. Maybe they want to work at Meta. Well, back then, there wasn't any of that. There wasn't Google, right. There wasn't Meta, there wasn't, Amazon. So the way where I really wanted to work was Hewlett-Packard Labs in Palo Alto. HP Labs was considered the it place to go, and I was lucky to get a job there.
Yeah, they were the innovation central back in the day.
Yeah, it was very convenient, too, because it's located about 3 miles from the campus. So, and I was living right in between, so I could ride my bike to both places and still was doing research with both places. Now, HP paid me a hell of a lot more than Stanford did. So here I am, a young guy. As I said, I was 1 year old. No, I wasn't 1, but and I feel like I'm getting paid an enormous amount. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Very much like today you have an engineer getting his first job at Google, that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And then in my research lab, there were some people who were in their 50s and 60s. So I made the straight assumption, whoa, if this guy's been working here for 30 years plus, getting paid like that, he must be very wealthy. When I got to know my colleagues socially, I realized that was not true. These people own their own home and a 401k. That was it. I said, there is absolutely no way that I'm going to work here for 30 years or more and look like this.
And end up there, yeah.
So I grew up in a family of real estate developers. When I was a child, I didn't care about what my family did. I just wanted to play. But I still, you get exposed by osmosis to the power, of owning real estate. So I said, okay, look, I live in Palo Alto. I'm very well paid, young, hardly any expenses really, single, credit is great. I'm going to start building, an empire for myself so that when I'm 50 or 60 or more, my empire will make me be at the level of wealth that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And back then in the 1980s, everybody who bought rental homes was doing it within 30 minutes drive of where they live. Absolutely everyone. It was like a rule, a mantra, whatever you want to call it. So I did it too. I didn't want to stray from the norm. So I was living in Palo Alto and buying homes in Silicon Valley, Sunnyvale, San Jose. After a few homes, I realized I can't build an empire here. Because even in the 1980s, where all the numbers were much lower than they are now, the ratios were just as bad. The rent was small relative to the home price. So I said, if I really am serious about building something, I need to leave Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Even the San Francisco Bay area, nobody was doing that. So it was very scary. I did a little research. Now, of course, back then I didn't have the web. And Sergey Brin and Larry Page, I believe, were in kindergarten. So there wasn't any Google to look for that. But at Stanford, at the lab I was working at Stanford, I still had, access to the ARPANET, which is the precursor to the internet. Not as convenient, but with a little research I saw, with a little search rather, that if I flew an hour and a half from San Francisco, I would land in a smaller city by the name Las Vegas. It's a name that many people know, actually. And I could see that I could buy homes in Vegas for about 1/4 of the Silicon Valley price. But I was surprised to see the rents in Vegas were closer to 1/2 of the Silicon Valley rents. Obviously, that was infinitely better in terms of ratios. So I started flying to Vegas every weekend. I always looked younger than my age. Back then, I looked like a boy. And the people in Vegas had never seen anyone buying out of state. So everybody was super skeptical. They felt like I was going to waste their time. Nobody wanted to work with me. So I spent my first few months doing what I knew I had to do, finding a local property management firm. Because obviously, if I'm living in Palo Alto, California, and I'm buying homes in Las Vegas, Nevada, I need a local manager to take care of the homes. So after a couple of months, I had a property management firm local to Vegas that I like. Well, I liked them, but I never got a chance to really test them in the field. So there was still a lot of trepidation. Finally, a broker took pity on a crazy boy from California and said, okay, I'm going to work with you. And I started buying. Now, I was always aggressive. And in my first year, I bought 22 homes in Las Vegas. Now, before our viewers and listeners get impressed by that number, what? 22? To be fair, I'll say the average home I was buying in Vegas at that time cost $39,000. That was the price.
They had homes in Vegas for 39 grand.
That's 40 years ago. 39,000.
Wow.
Back then in the 1980s, Fannie Mae didn't have this stupid rule, if you'll excuse, of an investor, of a person not being able to get more than 10 Fannie Mae loans. There was no limit. And there were some programs that existed back then that don't exist now, whereby you can take over existing VA and FHA loans simply by filling out one sheet paper. I know it's crazy, on a subject to basis. And so I bought some, my average down payment was less than 10%, with PMI. And so now, if you're working in Silicon Valley, getting paid well, buying 22 homes that cost $39,000 and putting less than 10% down, plus closing costs, very doable. So still, I had never met a person who owned so many homes. So it made me feel good too. I mean, whoa, wow. And the first year, my friends in Silicon Valley were absolutely mercilessly coming down on me. What are you doing? You're insane. Nobody buys out of state. It's going to
Who wants to manage 22 toilets plus extras, right?
You're going to fix
toilets, termites, tenants, all the other stuff that goes along with it.
22 million termites, 22 toilets.
Yeah.
So once they saw me with my 20-something homes, and they saw that I actually had a property management firm handling all the heavy lifting of that, the logic of those Silicon Valley engineers is good. They started saying, you know what? We understand what you're doing. In fact, we want to do it too. I said, you should. I really think you should. Because even these 22 homes, if I do nothing else ever, will completely change the way I look when I'm 50. Completely. So you should do it too. Go, do it. And they said, are you kidding? You work in Silicon Valley. You know we don't have time. We barely have time to go to the bathroom. Come on. You are there already with your homes and your managers. How about you lead us? I said, well, okay. I really didn't think about that. I led a group of 20 engineers. We bought 250 homes. Not as a group. Each person bought their own homes. But I made the very trivial discovery that even the very cautious engineer who bought just one little home in Vegas as a test enjoyed the clout, the power, so to speak, of 250 homes. Because the service providers, most notably the property managers, knew if he wasn't happy with their services, he would complain to me. And now I won't be happy. And every other manager in Vegas was courting me all the time. Come to us. We are better. We are cheaper. We are taller. We are prettier. Who doesn't want to manage 250 homes plus the many dozens more we may still buy in the future? So I started really enjoying this. And not only did I enjoy it, I felt like I was making it. And I bought a few homes for me too, more. And I felt like not only am I changing my own future, I'm now helping my friends change their future. And what I was doing was so unusual back then that I started getting invited to speak at real estate clubs, conventions. And in one of the lectures I gave in San Francisco, which I found, by the way, that I enjoy speaking about this because I'm passionate about it.
Mhm.
I didn't know I like public speaking, but I discovered that I love it.
Part of expanding your strategy out on the market, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's the remote control retirement riches approach, right? Is that what's the strategy that you're referring to right now, and the go-to
That-
investment vehicle?
yeah, yeah. So I mean, and I'll talk about it in a little more detail in a few minutes. So I mean, I spoke, and I didn't know in the crowd was a reporter for the San Francisco paper. So in the Sunday paper, there was a big article about me and all of this. And then that led to being interviewed on the morning news on NBC, the local channel. I started saying to myself, you know what? This is really fun. And I'm changing my future and the future of who knows how many people. I dropped my high-tech life. That wasn't an easy thing to do because, you invest so much in your
Yeah.
education. I
Yeah.
dropped it. I formed our company. I'm not saying it wasn't a kind of toss and turn at night type thing,
Yeah.
picking up a steady paycheck in Silicon
Sure.
Valley.
Big risk, big reward, right?
Right. So I started our company, and in the past 40 years, this is year 41 actually, in the past 40 years, my investors bought more than 10,000 homes in about 30 markets, but the principle remains the same. A slight difference is that after a few years, I realized it's better to buy brand new. And I have a series of magazine articles that I wrote by invitation. One of them is Why Buy Brand New Homes? I'll be happy to share it with your viewers
Sure.
rather than explain now new homes.
Yep. We'll link it in the chat below.
Yeah, I'll be happy to share the magazine articles. I was invited a couple of years ago to do a TEDx talk. About 6 years ago, I did a PBS special, a TV special. I can send links to all of that.
Awesome.
It's really fun. So, I mean, that will also explain the reason I'm not retired. But the model has become very much what you just said, remote control retirement riches, which is also the name of the PBS special. And that is, I, in the beginning, was dealing primarily with Silicon Valley people.
Mm-hmm.
Busy, yet well paid with good credit, who can get good loans and buy homes. But nobody has time to fix any toilets. And
Yeah.
since I'm leading by example, I own more homes than any of my investors, and I have some big investors. If I weren't using property managers locally, I would not be speaking to you right now. I'd be fixing a toilet at this very moment in one of my many houses. But I don't.
Understood. You'd have to be. It's
And I refuse to do it. I don't.
Right.
I am happily paying my property manager the management fees so I can live my life. I can talk to you. That's a lot more fun.
Well, thank you.
And
I appreciate that. I think it's more fun than
Yeah,
fixing toilets,
thank
which I've had to do personally.
not the trailer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea is, yes, making it as remote controlled as possible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you,
for sure.
you have a Silicon Valley person living in Palo Alto, let's say, and they own a home somewhere in the middle of the country. I'll talk about where in a second. And they have a local property manager taking care of the homes for them. The home is new in a good area. If they have any issues, me or my company are there to listen to them. And the property managers who in some of the markets manage 2,000 homes for us, really care if we are not happy. So even if somebody buys just one home, once again, they get the clout of 2,000 homes or 500 homes or 1,000. We even have one market where we bought more than 3,000. So, but it's the same principle. And so that's what we do now. Where do we buy? I was always a student of the demographics in the US.
Mhm.
To me, to my mind, even just looking at the census, it's clear that the demographic flow goes south.
Yep.
So
I
I
could
buy
probably
this.
guess where you were headed with this. You want me to guess?
Well,
I
sure.
might get 2 out of 3. I might get all 3. What do you think?
You're going to get all three.
Am I going to get all 3? I have Phoenix for sure, right?
Phoenix is our biggest market. We bought more than
Nailed it.
3,000 homes in the metropolitan area of Phoenix, or as they call it, Maricopa County. We're not buying there today
Yeah.
because the prices have gone up faster than the rents to the point
Amount of people.
they don't work anymore. But
Yeah. So you,
3,000 homes in Phoenix, yes.
so you probably have Dallas, because if you've been in Silicon and you know everybody's moving from California to Texas, if you had the forethought of mind, you probably bought into Dallas.
So that's an interesting thing. We were buying in Vegas, of course, I already mentioned.
Well,
Phoenix,
Vegas, yeah.
as you said. We were buying in Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, Huntsville, Nashville, Denver, Salt Lake City, Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville,
Yeah.
Miami even, Atlanta, some other cities like this. However, over the past decades, some of those markets became, unreachable. Phoenix.
Unreachable, saturated, and
Phoenix is
overpriced.
no, prices are too high relative to the rent. So we're not buying in Vegas, we're not buying in Phoenix. And for the last several years, we did not buy in Texas because Texas carries the extra burden of high property tax.
True story.
I don't mind high property tax if the rents can make up the difference. It's okay.
Sure. Well, it'd be
But-
better to buy in Florida, where they're about to get rid of the property taxes.
But it's interesting that
Yeah.
you said that
Hmm.
because just in the past couple of months, I reintroduced the Dallas market.
Hmm.
We already have a team there. We bought a lot of properties. And just literally in the last month or two, no, I'm sorry, 2 or 3 months, I brought Dallas back. San Antonio and Austin are coming too. Why? Because, as you know, during the COVID time, when the rates were the lowest in the history of all time, prices shot up because of extra demand.
Yeah.
Prices went up a lot. Then inflation fears, the Fed made the rates higher. The media jumps on everything and makes it 100 times worse. So now people are scared because the
Right.
rates are, God forbid, 6 3/4, even though, anyway, I'll talk about that. This is an important point, actually. So the prices in Austin actually went down the most. So it's coming, Dallas is coming back. And
Okay.
yes, so the other markets are the markets in Oklahoma City, for example, where we bought more than 2,000 homes over the past 21 years. Tulsa, Mobile, Alabama, Orlando is too high. But
Yeah.
Central Florida, northeast and south of Orlando, there's still stuff to buy. The most expensive market we're still working in is the Raleigh-Durham Research Triangle.
Okay.
Still kind of works. So these are the markets, and they do change depending on the economy. If the rents in Phoenix start going up a lot and the prices don't go up as much, or maybe even go down a little bit, we'll be back in Phoenix, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, the model is here you have the Silicon Valley guy, which of course we don't just work with Silicon Valley people. I've worked with doctors, lawyers, nurses, truck drivers, teachers. When you buy homes in the middle of the country, they're not expensive. A teacher can afford them. Not like, you need to be rich or anything like that.
Yeah.
So the people are busy. So
Yep.
to have a local property management firm that really feels quite, indebted to us because they got so much business and they manage the properties and they feel responsible, takes the heavy load off of you. So
Yeah.
I have people who bought 10 homes, 20 homes, 30, 60, 70, 100. And then I also have a lot of people rather, who bought 1 or 2 or 3, and they say life-changing because down the road, even the 2 homes can make a huge difference. And here I have to introduce one layer. That's the reason that I'm not retired. Because people ask me all the time, my God, we've been doing it for 40 plus years. You own so many properties. Why the heck are you on my podcast? Why are you doing? Why are you not on some boat? Okay, here's why. So when I started all of this, I realized in this country, and to the best of my knowledge, only in this country, there is a financial gift that is given that is absolutely insane. That gift has a name that everybody recognizes, yet, with the exception of one person that I was in touch with, nobody thinks about.
Yeah.
The name of the gift is the 30-year fixed rate loan.
Yep. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage, right?
So this is what it looks like when I speak in Europe. I tell them, my Americans can get a loan called 30 years fixed. They say, what does it mean? So like the name implies, monthly payment, principal, and interest will absolutely never change, ever, with anything. And the loan balance, how much you owe, even though it goes down with little payments every month, also will never keep up with the cost of living. The Europeans don't believe me. They say, you clearly don't know what you're talking about. We're going to prove it to you with logic.
Mm-hmm.
You have inflation in the US, right?
Right.
It's always there, right? Right. Sometimes it's low, sometimes it's high. 40 years ago, you bought a postage stamp for 4 cents. Now it's 72 cents. 40 years ago, you went to the movies in San Francisco for $2. Now it's $15. If you go to Whole Foods right now and buy a beautiful organic avocado, $3. You know, we know, everybody knows in 10 years, very likely going to cost $6. How is it possible that in the middle of everything going up in price all the time with inflation, because the dollar, you need more dollars to buy the same goods, somebody will be crazy enough, and they really will have to be crazy, to give you a loan for 30 years that will be the only thing in the US economy never to budge when everything else goes.
Mm.
That were true, inflation would become your very best friend,
Yeah.
eroding the true value of your loan every month, every day, every year. And you're not going to have to wait for 30 years. Most likely in 10, 12, 13 years, your loans are going to be so tiny looking because they never change while everything else does, rents and houses too. You're going to be rich. Not possible. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking.
Yeah.
They do a little search, because now we do have Google or some other methods. The next question is always the same. If the Americans can get this unbelievably insane gift of a loan that never changes, why don't they all drop everything they're doing and run outside to get as many of those loans as they can? And I always answer the same way. I don't know, but I should.
Yeah.
But the only person I was in touch with who got it before I explained it is Warren Buffett. Was in touch with me in 2012. Somebody connected us. He wanted to buy a good number of homes for Berkshire Hathaway. He got the 30-year fixed rate. In fact, from time to time, you read an article where he's quoted as praising the craziness of the 30-year fixed rate loan. Here's an article.
Are those?
And
Oh, go
there's
ahead.
an article in Entrepreneur magazine from a couple of years ago talking about my interaction with him, specifically about that. That's the reason I'm not retired, because no other person in this country that I talked to thought about what it means to get a 30-year fixed rate loan in the face of constant inflation. So I
Yeah.
feel I have a mission, a life-changing mission. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to use a Silicon Valley example, but I've seen it on teachers, whatever you want. So I got a call from one of my Silicon Valley friends. He said, remember, I started investing with you in my early 40s. I bought just one home because I wanted to see that the managers really take care of it. I didn't have any time to fix toilets. I saw it went okay, it's rented. So then I bought another one. I understood what you said about the 30-year fixed rate loan. So I put the minimum down payments to get as much of those gifts as I could. I ended up buying 19 homes. By the way, not as impressive as it sounds. At the time he was buying them in his early 40s, he was buying brand new homes for $150,000.
Yeah.
By the way, that was in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Putting a minimal down payment, not hard to do. He says, last year I turned 55. I looked at my 19 homes, and even though I started out with very large loan because I put the minimum down payment, after 13 years, by the time I was 55, the loans were just 1/4 of the value of the home. That's what inflation does to a loan that never moves when everything else goes up in value. He said, I was ecstatic because over 19 homes, I had millions of dollars in equity. It was amazing. But then I sold 4 of the 19 homes. Sold, didn't do anything fancy, no 1031 exchanges, nothing. Sold and paid my tax. Used the proceeds to pay off the remaining small 15 loan. And with 15 free and clear homes in Phoenix, I retired from Silicon Valley at 55. Thank you. And then the sentence that everyone says in the future, including me, I should have bought more.
More than 19. So is that one of your best success stories? I bet you've got a lot.
No, I have much bigger. I don't want to scare people.
Well, just give everybody a perception, not maybe an actual, or maybe that is the actual example. What of the 19? What did that when he retired at 50? What did that turn into income for him wise? How did that
So
allow him to retire?
he retired at 55 just a couple of years ago. So each one of his homes in Phoenix was worth 450 to 550,000. Let's call it 500. So the 15 homes were worth $7.5 million, no mortgage. And then each home was netting, and I do mean net. That's after property tax, insurance, property management,
Operator.
fee, repairs, vacancy, everything. We're netting $1,250 a month. So you multiply $1,250 by 15, and you get about $19,000 a month. For a year, that's about $225,000 a year. That's besides anything
Up
else.
to $7.5 million net worth on those homes. Yeah.
Just from the home. And I have people who bought 6 times as many homes as he did.
Yeah.
And I have people who bought just one home. Still, what a difference it makes in their future. But it's very powerful. The fact that somebody is insane enough to give you a loan that is the only thing that never moves with inflation is just incomprehensible.
Now, for those who are new listening to this, don't have one home, what's the first step they should take? And what's a mistake they should avoid in that process?
All right. So most of the people that I deal with, just like you and me, are logical people. Logical people, it's great to be logical, but it comes at a price. Logical people like to complicate stuff. You know, sometimes I have an Excel in Silicon Valley. Should I go to the bathroom? Let's see what the Excel is. Oh yeah, I should go. You know, everything is complicated. Paralysis.
Yep.
The paralysis of overanalysis. So I've been striving to simplify. All I do is, if somebody says, you know what, I'm interested. So number one, I'll talk to them. When I made the decision not to retire, I needed to find balance in my life. So I make music in my home studio. This is just, I'm going to be on a show soon, so I'm practicing.
Oh, very cool.
I have a health and wellness podcast, and I dedicate more than half my time to meeting you guys.
Yeah, Life 201 Health, right?
Yeah. And I don't charge for my meetings. I'll meet with. So if you want to meet with me, just send us an email. You know, shall I say where to send it, or you? Anyway, send us an email.
Me?
At,
You want me to send you an email?
Send us an email at info@icgre.com.
Everybody send an email. I'll send an email. Okay.
Yeah, and they will set up a meeting with me, and I'll talk to you because I enjoy talking about it while changing your future. And then all I do is we choose a market or 2 or 3, and I simply do the lazy act of sending an email introducing you to the local broker team in that market that I myself use, that thousands of my investors use, and they will work with you directly. Anytime you have questions for me, I'm available. Your spouse wants to talk, your father, your CPA, your lawyer, I'm here. I enjoy talking about this. I will work with you, and I recommend starting small, buying one home. Because you buy, out of state, there are some fears. What's going to happen? How is it going to rent? Who is it? Buy one home. When the first home gets rented and boring, buying home number 2 is just a repetition of the same process. Buying home number 4 should be downright boring already. It's the same thing. So I strive to simplify, to support, to help. And that's what I've been doing. And I have no plans to retire. By the way, Warren Buffett is now 94. I believe he's worth $160 billion. He's not retired.
No.
So that's a good example for me.
Once you got the mind working, as long as the body hangs on as long. This is what I tell people the other day on my podcast. They're like, are you ever going to retire from what you do? I said, well, no. I mean, if I become physically incapacitated, but my mind is still working and I can still make this go, then the business keeps going.
Yeah. So if I distill it into a very silly formula, is buy a brand new home in the Sunbelt states in a large metropolitan area for job diversity, in the suburbs where families live and the kids go to school for stability. Put a small down payment, get a 30-year fixed rate loan. Let the local property manager who really wants to please us and you list the home for you.
Do the
And
work.
then and then proceed to do the hardest action for a human being to do. Nothing.
Let go.
Wait.
Trust and let the process work, right?
And the sweet spot is between 12 to 14 years, your loans look like a joke. Your future has changed. Your wealth has been built. So just let the passage of time and inflation do the work.
Yeah, makes sense. So before we go, what's one piece of advice you give someone hesitant about jumping in the real estate market today, given what feels like volatility and high interest rates and tariff nonsense and all this other stuff people are going on about? What is that? Obviously, you're talking about this. I know you are. And people are asking you about it. I'm sure they are. So what's that advice you would give people listening to that today?
Okay, because of the 40-year span, there was always an issue. Now it's the tariff. Then there was a war in the Ukraine. Then there was a big recession.
Pandemic and such and such.
There's a reason not to. So I sometimes get two friends who come to meet me. Then I meet them 15 years later. One of them owns 16 free and clear homes, set for life. The other one sits there crying, literally with tears. He never did anything.
Yeah.
There was always a tariff. There was always a war. There was always a this. First advice is Nike really knows what it's talking. Just do it. It doesn't matter. People need homes. There's a big shortage of homes in the US since the 2008 fall. They weren't building enough. Buy now and start small. Buy one. Buy now, start small. Now, as far as interest rates, who cares? One of the great features about the 30-year fixed rate loan is if you got a higher rate in the future, if the rates go down, refinance now. And by the way, the media who tells people sit on the sideline until rates go down, they're not in the trenches, but we are. But let me tell you from the trenches.
Yeah.
During the COVID time, when the rates were the lowest in the history of all time, the media pumped everybody to buy. The demand was enormous. Supply was still suffering from the COVID supply chains. So the prices shot up like crazy. And the new houses are bought from builders. So the builder said, you know what? I have so much business, much more than I can handle. I can be picky. I don't want to work with investors. No investors, only homeowners. Only want to work with all. So we could barely even find anything to buy when the rates were super low. Then the rates got higher. The media jumped in. They don't understand much and said, don't do anything. So now the demand is low. Supply in the meantime got better. Now the builders really want buyers. They're so friendly. They want investors. And in fact, ironically, one of the gifts that they give you to come and buy is to buy down your rate to a much lower rate. I'm working with builders now who buy the rates down to 5, even 4, 4.5. So if you wait until the rates go down again, once again, the media, prices go up, everything, all the craziness. Instead, buy now when it's a great time to buy. And when the rates go down, refinance. So simple.
Understood. Well, gosh, thank you for a good word. Thank you for sharing some information. Is there any questions I didn't ask you or something we didn't dig into that you'd like to cover?
There's a lot we can talk about, but we have an event for nearly the entirety of the 40 years. We have a big event every quarter, and I bring all the market teams to talk and show us their properties and talk about the economy. It used to be a live event. Since COVID, we make it by Zoom, so everybody from all over the world can join.
Excellent.
The next event is on May the 17th. It's a Saturday from 10 a.m. Pacific to 2 p.m. Pacific. Everybody is invited. You don't have to pay. I want people to be exposed to this. I will take a lot of questions. The markets will speak. And I bring experts, lawyers and CPAs. Good events, if I say so myself.
Awesome. Well, guys, check that out in the show notes. Definitely go over to ICG and check that out. Links and it will be in here as well. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing some great information and some thought-provoking insights today.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Guys, get out there, like, share, comment, engage, help us beat big tech as always. Show up to the virtual summit, get in there, learn a little bit more about what's going on in the world of investing, buying a family, if you will, and not multifamily, but multifamily homes, and understand what that market. If you have any questions, information will be here. Links were given below, and I just encourage everybody to think, as always, and remember that your opportunity begins at the end of your excuses. So get out there and do something today that changes that. Till the next episode, see you guys again.